Hey guys, so looking at Bitcoin on the weekly again, but this time using the normal scale instead of the logarithmic scale. First of all, the logarithmic scale, of course, flattens out the patterns and is generally used for longer term trends. And of course, the normal one is, well, it's the linear one is the one which quite simply most people are using, really, I think. And when you see trend lines drawn on charts, the overwhelming majority of the time are use the linear ones. Now, I don't want to be too religious about which one is the best, so I like to have a look at both and see if we can find any confluence zones. And looking at the linear one, we see very similar things to what we saw with the log. So we have this major, we had this major resistance line, 1, 2, 3, and that's turned as support here, and we never came back down to it again. This resistance line, 1, 2, and this actually acted as very clear, strong resistance over here. We almost touched it, but never quite broke through it. We've broken through that. So these are two good signs. And again, in terms of purely of diagonal resistance lines, this is the bulk of it, you know. Yes, we have this other resistance line over here, but these are the ones which go back 6 months. You know, we had the biggest inflection points over here and over here. So this inflection point is already smaller, and this inflection point was a very big one as well. And look, we've broken through that. So really, this is relatively small in terms of purely of diagonal lines. That being said, we do have now the next critical level, and I would say this is significantly more critical than the 6.8K level. Well, significantly, it's a little bit more important than the 6.8K level for one simple reason, is that it's the 26 EMA. Okay, so I mentioned this in my video before as well, in the log, looking at the log scale, and it's very similar here. The 26 EMA historically has been a very, very important line to stay above during bull trends. All right, so I'm not going to go over it again because it's almost exactly the same here on the linear scale. But as you can see, we use it as support on the uptrend, support, and when we broke support here, it ended in its downtrend. So what does that mean? That means that not only do we need to break through it, but we need to test it. And look, it's right here, this blue line. We need to break through it, and then we need to test it and confirm that we're in an uptrend. Now, what makes this point so critical? Well, first of all, you can see on the previous video, oh, where is it? Here. So this level was a resistance over here, okay, on the log scale. But what makes it even more relevant is that, well, first of all, it's almost exactly the same level over here. And secondly, is that it's the 26 EMA. Okay, I would say the 26 EMA is actually the most critical one, since it's acted as such clear support in the bull trend, and will therefore act as resistance here, as it did over here, okay? And over here it acted as support, all right? So breaking through this, and then also, of course, coming back down, retesting it and supporting it will be very, very important. So we have the diagonal resistance, we have the horizontal resistance at here, okay? 7.8, and we have the 26 EMA. So breaking this will really be, before I said in my video, 62%, just based on pure intuition, that we have already reversed the trend. I don't remember exactly what the other numbers were, but essentially breaking this line, I think, really puts us up right at 70, 72, 73%. And coming back and supporting and testing it is really 90 plus percent. So this is good news, but we have to still test this. And of course, that being said, there's still the ETF, which could make things go awry. I'm never sure if you pronounce it Ori. No, it's not Ori. Make things go awry. I think it's awry. If it's not approved, the ETF, that would really not be great. You know, if the G20 summit has some very bad news about Bitcoin, but I think that certainly the latter is unlikely, and the ETF not being approved, well, yeah, it wouldn't be great, but I don't think it would necessarily push us right back down to 4K. I mean, that would really be just another bump in the road, which we would have to overcome at a later date. But in terms of purely of TA, yeah, those are the percentages that I'm looking at. And yeah, on the weekly, this is pretty much it. I mean, we break this and then it's all good. So that's the level I'm looking at, 7.8k, and I'm certainly going to be longing a lot on margin if and when we break that level, as well as, be perfectly honest, I will already be entering into trades between 7k. Well, actually, between, if I can get 6.8, I'll get that as well, but aggressively between 7,250 and 7,000, and we'll see how that works out. And honestly, my stop loss will be a 6.8k. If we break that, yeah, it won't be looking so great. Again, we'll have a much higher chance of coming all the way back down to retest either this support line or to test 6k at least. So that's my idea. I think that the risk to reward ratio is well, I mean, it's really, oops, this is a short. Let's put a long. So a long at what I'm putting is something like this, with a stop loss over here. I mean, already one of the reasons I chose this level is that with here, God, it's annoying how these things elongate so wide. I'm not sure why it does it, but in any case, this right here is a 1.75 to 1 risk reward ratio, which is good enough in and of itself. I may take some profit here, but then I'll re-enter if we break that level. And in general, I'm looking to really just play this out the whole way, you know. And of course, you know, even just getting to 10k, that would be 35% if you do that on 5-10x margin. Again, don't do this. don't go on margin if you don't have any experience with it, and certainly if you're vulnerable to letting your emotions take control of you. But my plan is definitely to use 10, yeah, maybe even 20% of my portfolio to go on long margin here and have my strict stop loss at 6.8k, and just see how that happens. We'll see back in a few months how that worked out for me. All right, take care. That's me for now, and that's me for now. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, see you later.